Hello and welcome everyone to this amazing panel called Curating Music for Content Creators, How the Needs of Streamers, YouTubers, and TikTokers Differ. My name's Noah Downs. I'm going to be your moderator today, which means that I don't have to talk very much. I'm just going to ask questions, which is awesome. So if you also have questions, same for the end, we will have some time for that. Write them down or something. Without further ado, I'd like our panelists to introduce themselves. We'll start immediately to my left with Heather.
Hi, my name is Heather, and I am the CEO of 99 Lives, which is a record label that signs music safe for content creators to use. And I'm also on the board of directors for A2IM in the independent music space.
Hi, my name is Nate Beck, and I co-founded a company called Pretzel, which is a music player for live streamers on Twitch and YouTube.
My name is Ryan. I was head of AR, or still is head of AR for 99 Lives, and I director of music for Pretzel, said company mentioned, and I'm also an artist myself. I'm a touring EDM artist for the group Made Monster.
My name is Baxter. I'm the CEO of Atlas Rhythm. We are an indie game developer, and we are also creator of content for VR rhythm games.
So yeah, our panelists are dope. Anyway, so obviously the title of this panel is How the Needs of Streamers, YouTubers, and TikTokers Differ. So just for our panelists, currently, how is music used differently across these platforms?
I think we could start, obviously, like the big difference between, like, you look at Twitch or YouTube, right? And that's a big domain for 99 Lives. I mean, we have our music on TikTok and Snapchat and Triller, but that's where we started. And with YouTube, you have a creator that has the opportunity to pick out the perfect song. And they typically pick out like 1 to 2 songs, and they've created their long form content or their short form content, and they have now matched that one song to it. Whereas you have a live broadcaster, and they're typically live anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, and they need to consume large amounts of music in a passive way, and typically probably don't have time to curate, 4 to 8 hours of music. And that's kind of what Pretzel handles is.
Yeah, I see it basically broken down into 3 basically types of mediums, and I think of them very separately. So you have what I like to call produced content. So that's people who are
YouTube.
Yeah, going to sample music. They're going to find the right song. They're going to put it in Premiere. They're going to edit their video to it, and they're going to upload it. And that's really finding just the right song for the mood or something they're trying to do. Then you have like background music for live streaming that you want to set a mood or a vibe for your stream. And so there's a lot less audition of the music. And then there's short form, which is generally like TikTok or YouTube shorts that are all about
Triller.
Right, that are all about how to, a lot of times the music is the focus in that video, like a small dance or some one of those things. And so each of those kind of mediums have different use cases and different needs for what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you've got video games.
Yeah, I was about to say, and then
you've got video games, which are a whole different like music rhythm games.
And then you see games across all of these different platforms, and it's being used differently. So Baxter, can you talk a little bit about how that works as well?
Yeah, well, music is, I think what's happened on things like TikTok and YouTube and Twitch is spectating the experience of music has become much more interesting. So you have streamers who are performing what we call a beat map, so a choreography of sorts, and they're sort of directed very precisely in how they're moving their arms and legs and their body. And the spectators who understand the dynamics of the game, they can viscerally feel sort of vicariously. The mirror neurons start firing, and they can feel what that person, what the streamer is experiencing through that beat map. So what I've seen in comments on YouTube and so forth is people will say, "Oh, it's so relaxing and mesmerizing watching you perform this music." They're being put into a state of flow. It's the same sort of state that the streamer is experiencing. So there is that vicarious experience, and it makes them more interested in the music. They want to go try it themselves. So.
Just as an artist, I'm just going to go on a little tangent here. I find that really fascinating. Now, since we're talking more about curation of music, is there certain types of music, or even in a type of music, things that you look for in a certain track that will have that flow? Or like if a track had like, too long of a breakdown, or what in the musicality that are you looking for to provide that flow that you're talking about?
Yeah, so some features that we like to see when we're creating beat maps, you don't like a lot of downtime in them. If there's a really long intro, it can be harder for the player to get into it. They might lose interest early on. So you want, basically after about 15 seconds, you need the rhythms.
Interesting, 15 seconds. Wow.
Yeah. So the extended intros can make it a little bit more of a barrier to mapping. And so really the streamers are only playing what the mappers create. So in a way, you need to be thinking about, well, what is the mapper looking for here? What do they want to see in the music? So something above 80 BPM, I would say, that's probably the lowest you're going to want to see. You need the music to support the energy of the map.
What would be the high range of the BPM?
Oh, well, sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, just play Rushy the whole time.
So as a music producer, like if I really wanted one of my tracks to be in a rhythm game, like just knowing that information about like that 15 seconds is kind of huge.
Yeah.
So that's for me as a producer, I found that really fascinating.
Good.
Which is interesting. It's so different than like a Twitch broadcast where, those interesting components are, I guess, great for the background. But honestly, you're typically looking for something that's a little bit more mellow, or a song that has a more repetitive, like chorus or repetitive nature, and typically instrumental, right? You don't want anything with lyrics or videos. So it's a very different need for a live Twitch broadcaster that's playing a game and then needs music in the background.
Well, I mean, yes and no, right? Depends how that Twitch broadcaster builds his community, right?
Sure.
If the Twitch broadcaster likes to sing along to the music in that background, he wants to hear their favorite stuff. Now, not to go down a huge rabbit hole of popular music and majors and them singing Drake or Taylor Swift. That was the last panel.
Yep.
But having that familiarity and then having their community,
That's like the
be able
memory
to
side.
like
Yeah.
and like almost like request them, hey, we love when you play the song and how you react.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just having the community embrace that kind of music. So I definitely, for Twitch, I feel like when curating for Twitch, I've seen every use case. We have Pretzel has about 54 stations. Again, pretzel.rocks, not to be a Pretzel commercial, but we had a request for polka. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to waste my time on this one. So I spent a good week or 2 weeks curating a polka station that has to think about, 20 hours of polka in it now?
Right.
That's a lot of polka.
That's a lot of polka. 20
At least
hours,
that
20
was
hours
that
of
much
polka.
polka music.
I don't want to
Period.
talk about what my headspace was like after that 2 weeks.
Yeah, me neither, man.
I thought I had an accordion in my hand at all times. But it's one of our more popular stations now because that meme of it,
Yeah.
What was it? Is it Day 9?
Yeah, Day 9 uses the polka station as his intro and his outro. And it has a really big resurgence right now with Power Washing Simulator.
Yes.
There's people who just play Power Washing Simulator while listening to the polka station. And
So
I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's very popular.
I feel like
now.
that's when the music's more of a focus, right? Like when you're talking about background music, something that isn't supposed to be the focus of the moment or the game, you end up with the more like chill instrumental stuff as opposed to like when you're trying to meme your content creator and play Heroes Tonight for the 10th time in a row or Seven Seas or the polka station. I think when it becomes the focus of it and part of the content itself, then I think the needs change.
Well, let me ask you this then. Speaking of genres and things that are doing well on Twitch in different realms, what kind of genres and moods play well on different platforms? And do you find that there's something very specific to a specific platform or otherwise?
Well, I can talk about an overall trend that's happening right now across all platforms is the lo-fi movement right now between labels like Chill Hop, Lo-Fi Girl, Chill Beats. There's been this insurgence of really well done lo-fi, and for me as a older person, when I think lo-fi, I think more the '90s Portishead, that kind of that kind of early trip hop sound, and now it's kind of morphed until it still has that hip hop beat structure, but even more pulled back and more instrumental, and where it's almost like the quote unquote study music or coffee house music. And there's just this huge desire for it, and it's not only just background music; they're building communities off of it.
Yeah.
Lo-Fi Girl has a huge Discord community, and you know, and it's a younger community too. Like you would think that kind of sound is more of a older person zone or more mature sound, if you will. But these communities are young people really vibing with that relaxing sound. And I think just with all the chaos and the noise of just, you know, the younger generations, with there's so much input being thrown at them, that this lo-fi, this chill music, this chill out sound is really resonating.
Yeah, I mean, lo-fi girls, but there's a whole brand built around it too. It's not just the music anymore. It's taking on a life of its own. Obviously, that is something that we see across platforms. Are there anything that is specific to TikTok, YouTube, Twitch that we see being pretty popular in terms of genre or mood or something like that?
I am shocked by the rise and then very quick fall of sea shanties.
Oh my God!
Like that was kind of crazy. That was a really interesting meme to me, where it was just like it was all sea shanties, and then no one's listening to it anymore. But there were like a
Speak
bunch
for
of
yourself.
a bunch of the sea shanty artists actually like got signed by majors, and then the trend kind of
Or the rejuvenation of 90s or early 2000s emo music.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my biggest tracks is a remix of Paramore, like a track that, you know, lived and died, and now it's all these older, and it's all that TikTok source of like younger people rediscovering music in a new way that they just, you know.
I think that speaks to like TikTok, Snapchat, and Triller, where the short form content takes the juiciest part of a song and then turns it into additional types of content and then reuses the same sound over and over again. And what's interesting about it, and the music industry as a whole is trying so hard to predict this or figure it out or find the next track that's going to hit it. And I don't think anybody has a real true handle on it. It is so incredibly unpredictable knowing what thing is going to blow up next. And I mean, sea shanties ended up being some random ass one that excuse me.
TikTok had no idea. Like TikTok knows, like we talked to TikTok and they have no idea how to
wield that beast,
how to force something. Like they can. So interesting enough, they've done studies, like, internal to TikTok. They've done studies where they literally have like put a bunch of eyeballs, like put stuff on people's For You pages, and yet they see the views and the numbers and everything, and it just doesn't hit that viral hit. Oh. And then they have other things that they just do a little nudge or a little bump to in the algorithm, and it just goes completely viral. Like they can try to force it, but they have not been able to crack that.
Well, think about that. That's like trying to have a photographer go around and try to take a picture of the perfect meme. Yeah. Right. They just happen, you know, like that, you know, getting the kid making the right expression at the right time. It's just that'd be like trying to force that. Right. You can't.
It's human psychology. And I think that, I mean, for a long time, that's how everyone kind of felt about Twitch and YouTube. And I think that we've gotten a better handle on it. And there may come a day when we have a better handle on what TikTok is looking for or needs, but
I kind of hope we don't. I want that.
Do you want it to remain?
Because if the majors ever figure it out, they're just gonna, you know, it'll be Marvel movies all over again.
No, what they're doing is they are. I like the Marvel movies.
Me too.
I was about to say.
I love the Marvel movies, but I think what's happening is in return, you're seeing a reverse takeover of independent artists or independent creators that are creating content on these platforms, and they just kind of get gobbled up by the majors, and the expectation for them is to recreate what they did over and over again. So instead of looking at like what about the track made it viral, they try to grab the source of the track, and which is the artist, and make them recreate it like a monkey, which is horrible. But
what's the phrase? I think it's if you got a million monkeys typing endlessly on typewriters, they'd recreate the works of Shakespeare. So maybe they'd find that viral.
Yeah. That's so dark.
Eventually.
The best of times, it was the blurst.
Yes, for the YouTube audience, it was the best of times. It was the blurst of times. So, kind of talking a little bit more about diving deeper into the genre and mood discussion. Does explicit music play well on these platforms? Does it do well, or is it more of the chill stuff that we've been talking about?
Oh man, one of the biggest debates we have internally at Pretzel is about the use of the N-word in music.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we're going there. We're going there in terms of how you actually curate that, because it's one of those things where, and you have a strong opinion on this too, but it's one of those things where we mark it as explicit, and people, there's an explicit filter on there, but we have seen, like when we had song requests in Pretzel, we've seen people weaponize that song by requesting a song with that word in it on like a white person's stream.
Right.
And then those people complain to us. They're like, well, I didn't know that song was in there. But we're like, but you have explicit turned on. How do we actually filter that out? And so that's a really difficult one to solve that problem.
Well, I mean, we have the thumbs down button.
Yeah.
And the thumbs down button lets them thumbs down. And I think it's more if the content creator is comfortable with explicit music, that is an explicit word.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's that additional concern, which is how explicit. It's almost like there's like a gradation of explicit.
Well,
that
you're
they're
correct,
comfortable
right? And
with.
in YouTube, when you post a YouTube video, and then when you make it suitable for ads, they have a questionnaire of how sweary is it, right?
Is there a
like,
swear word in the first 30 seconds? Is it throughout the whole
this
thing?
word? Is it the F bomb so many
Yeah.
times? Is it, so they make you go through that. So there definitely is a gradient for sure.
Yeah. But in the traditional music industry, when you get to send three things, which is explicit, non-explicit, and clean. Those are your three options when you send something to a storefront like Spotify. And I think that, I think it's different for content creators because you also have to take into consideration their stream content or even their YouTube content. They might be PG-13, right? Which means that they're fine with, words like damn and ass, but they're not okay with anything past that. Right. And so then you also get things where you look at topics of music where the words aren't explicit, but the topic of the song might be uncomfortable for a family-friendly stream.
Yeah.
So
Like
it's,
WAP.
yeah, it's just different.
Well, we had
Different with content creation because you have to keep their content in mind.
Well, we actually had another one where it came in that we had to deal with where the artwork on the album. So the album was called BDSM Music, and it was fully instrumental, right? But it was like industrial kind of BDSM music. But the cover was a person being hung from like rope play and like being strung.
It's
up.
called Shibari.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But that was the cover, and they were, and they were topless and all this other stuff. And so, we actually had a streamer come to us and complain that the album was not marked as explicit because of the artwork on the album. And that was, we marked as the artwork as explicit.
Which his viewers couldn't see, so...
Yeah, but some streamers do have the artwork on stream too.
Oh, they have the
And you don't see a ton of explicit music in video games either.
You really don't.
Yeah.
Well,
I never paid attention to that either.
If you're in the music space, then you want the max exposure for content creators.
Yeah.
The general rule is you avoid explicit. Like that's kind of the overall, because if you want as many different types of content creators using your music, then there's all those different use cases we just talked about where it's not appropriate. Then the best case is to leave it out. But again, art is your expression. And you should never tell a musician how to create their art. And if their art is having the most vulgar, explicit music possible, that's their art. They should be able to write that and make that, period.
Baxter, do you have like any specific thoughts on why? The thought just occurred to me that you don't really see it in the video games either, explicit content, even though it's for personal listening use intended, right? So curious.
I guess it could be just in video games you encounter a lot fewer lyrics, perhaps.
That's true. Yeah, you do.
Unless like you have the radio on in like a GTA or something like that.
They have lots of explicit in that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they do actually.
But like Beat Saber and Synth Riders, I have not seen.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm trying to think
I think they might bleep them out.
I think they did. Yeah, for a couple of Green Day songs they did.
Yeah, Supernatural, same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they want to keep it
Clean.
sort of like, because Oculus Quest is 13 plus, right? So,
Right.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
There's also the difference between clean and radio edit, right?
Right, yeah.
Because the FCC has their own rules for what's allowed on the radio, which does not translate to any of the platforms. It's only the FCC controls only US
Public broadcast.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's even, drug references and things
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
true. Like content of the music actually comes into play
So
there
that's
too.
a whole different aspect of that.
Yeah, you and I talked about that in the industry, you call it the super clean edit, which is radio edit.
So let me ask the question specifically for Baxter down there. Hi, Baxter.
Howdy.
talking about what plays well on these different platforms and explicit versus non-explicit, what genres and moods, you have a lot of experience looking directly at mapping out music specifically for games and rhythm games. So in your experience, what do streamers like to play, listen to, etc. in your realm?
I think EDM is a big one.
Yeah.
Pop and rock. Really, anything upbeat tends to be what becomes mappable.
Right.
You want interesting rhythms. You want music that will just get people moving, because it's a very physical activity. It's a full body activity. So you want music that will support that type of energy. If you have music that's very mellow, then it's probably you're going to have a mismatch in the energy levels, and that tends to be a flow breaker. When either if you have a map that is, we call it overmapped. So if you have too many objects that are too densely mapped to some lighter section of the music, that doesn't feel right.
Right.
So that will be experienced as a flow breaker to people, and that's what you want to avoid at all costs. So yeah, you want the energy to be up there. So I think those are the genres that I tend to see, the EDM, rock,
Gotcha.
etc.
Yeah, EDM.
I'm not joking. Like, what stands out in my head right now for in terms of rhythm games is I've got this Tick-Tock in my brain where somebody was doing Beat Saber to rush E, and it's just literally stuck there.
Living rent free.
I cannot get it out. It is annoying. So I was like, maybe that'll work. So what other kind of considerations do each of you think that we have for music curation for user-generated content platforms? Like, what have we not gone into that you guys kind of think we need to? I'll be honest, we are flying through this right now. So
Sorry. It's interesting when we sign music because there's two components that we're commercial, but we're also trying to provide music for content creators, and then we're also trying to make sure music fits with gaming. And so we kind of sign a variety of subgenres of EDM. And we do look at lyrical content for some of it. And we look at, if we want something that's a good listening experience for like a background piece, we look for chill or repetitive. And I think it's, for us as a record label, it's hard because typically record labels stick to one genre, and we're trying to serve multiple needs. So it's like we're kind of all over the place. And thankfully, we've had a very forgiving artist that likes discovery. But I don't think that if we had that audience, that we'd be able to hit the nail on the head with so many things that we have. So it's very interesting in comparison to Pretzel, where you're signing music from all over the place. There is no expectation.
You're not going to have a polka imprint?
I'm considering it right now.
It would perform very well.
I'm going to commission Made Monster.
Well, there's two different use cases, right? So you have the record label doing a release on average once a week, right? And we use a great website called Label Radar, where we get hundreds of submissions a week, and I go through them and just pick out where the sound of our label should go, right? Versus a Pretzel, where we sign a rights holder, let's say Hopeless Records, right? We're about to ingest a couple thousand records from Hopeless Records, and so we're talking top tier quality rock, emo, some throwback stuff from the day. So we have, the emo station on Pretzel, for example, right? So if Hopeless has this whole one sound of really quality music, do I put all of it in to that emo station? If it's all got that one kind of sound, well, then that kind of just kills the station's whole overall role. So I always think about the Pretzel stations as kind of like a soup, right? You have to keep tasting the soup, make sure it's that balance of flavor that you want throughout the whole time.
Oh, interesting.
So I might have a really good catalog that every song could deserve to go in there, but to keep the balance of it not just sounding like the Hopeless station,
I would
need
like
to
that.
pull stuff back and make sure the other sounds come through. And it's just that constant tasting the soup, make sure that station stays an emo station and not just the Hopeless record station.
That
we
is
also
wild.
have a Hopeless Record station if that is what you want.
Well, you can click on the label as a station. Thank you for throwing my analogy out the window.
Please do that for 99 Lives.
It still means that you have that emo station, but yeah, it's a sampling of it as opposed to that exact thing.
Yeah, well, that was more my point of how curating is different. Like, because you can have a wealth of quality, like the metal stations are an even better example. Like, we sign an amazing death metal catalog.
Right.
Cool. We don't have a specific death metal station, so we can't just overload the metal station with death metal, right? Then we kind of lose the balance of what the metal station wants to be.
Yeah.
So even though you have so many good tracks, you still have to hold back to keep the balance.
Yeah.
I also think it's very different from like Spotify playlist curation, whereas the idea of the Spotify playlist curation that is it's kept fresh, right? They cycle content out every couple of weeks. They keep the playlists fairly short and small versus the pretzel stations, which are very long. Content stays in it for a long period of time to increase consistency. And if it's not a good fit, that's when it kind of gets migrated out, or if there's something, a little bit better. But it's the cycle slower. The playlists are bigger. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so the difference between like an average Spotify playlist is like 50 to 150 tracks. Our stations on Pretzel are literally 5,000, around 5,000, because of that use case on Twitch where they're gaming, again, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. They need that longevity where they don't want to hear something, 2 or 3 times an hour. They need that long form. So having that large section of music, they can go a week or 2 weeks without having the same song twice.
It's our number one complaint on the smaller stations is that
They hear the same thing.
We need more.
I heard the same song twice in the last 60 hours. It's like, okay.
I was like, they could clear 99 Lives catalog. If someone did an 8-hour broadcast and they did it for 8-hour broadcasts for 4 days in a row, you could clear through our entire catalog.
Right.
Wow.
And then repeat. Yeah, that's how much music you consume in an 8-hour broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. So.
Damn. So one of the questions I kind of want to toss it back down to Baxter. I've got Baxter questions.
He's got so many questions for you.
Yeah, Baxter, I talk to these guys all the time.
Yes.
I don't get to talk to you that much. So one of the things that you've noted to me in the past, specifically on this little sheet that I'm looking at, is that people have kind of transitioned in rhythm games from, it used to be, hey, I got the best score, it was dope, to now it's more not that. Well, can you talk a little bit about that? Well, that transition, what it kind of amounts to, and how it kind of might affect the use on the different UGC platforms?
Sure. So, early rhythm games like DDR and Guitar Hero, Rock Band, those are the aughts.
Frequency, amplitude by
Oh my
harmonics.
goodness.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
did anyone play Frequency?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh wow, guys, come on.
He's
I honestly
old.
heard crickets.
Don't feel bad.
Wow.
See, I'm guilty too. I'm a relatively recent
Okay.
adopter, so I jumped on into this whole genre after Beat Saber came out. Came out
Yeah.
in 2018, of course.
Jiminy.
So there are those people from the before times that really like the score chasing. They like the gamification in that aspect
Right.
of it. But now that you've transferred it into the VR medium, which is a fuller body experience, you have people just really zeroed in on the activeness of it, the fitness component,
The
to it.
exercise.
So, yeah, you've got Supernatural, which is going nuts right now with they've developed a rhythm game, and they market it directly as a fitness experience,
That's cool.
fitness app. But really, all of the games are like that. All of them sort of encourage those types of movements.
Right.
Depending on the map and the style, the movement style, and everything. So yeah, it's people who are into rhythm games nowadays, they are experiencing those benefits now, which it's been really great. You'll see testimonials all over the place for people just improving their lives.
Wow.
You also see a lot of content creators they put the costume on and it's all about the flow of the movement.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they try to make it a visually pleasing experience from a dance perspective or from a flow state perspective. So you see a lot of people that typically do flow state stuff that you would see at an EDM festival, and they play Beat Saber and synth riders, and they turn that into the flow experience. And there's a lot of art around that too, which is really kind of cool.
I think one of the coolest things I saw, and I feel bad. I can't remember what is it, Turtle VR, or it's one of the VR content creators that does really impressive mixed reality. For those who don't know what mixed reality is, it's essentially you have a camera that is also mapped into VR. So when you move the physical camera, it moves in the space, and then you normally shoot on a green screen, and then you can composite the real person inside the video game. And so when you look at it, it's the video game plus a real person standing inside of it.
Yeah.
And so, and now they're getting crazy. They have like cameras on like mounts that will
Yeah, Get
swing
Hip
around
does
and-
one where it like circles around the front of him.
It's crazy.
and you get to see all angles of him playing.
But there was one song in Synth Riders. It's a 99 Live song called Paris Nightwalk, and it's an electro.
I love
swing.
that song.
Yeah, Get
by
Hip
Roy.
did that. The cool experience.
that the one I'm thinking of?
It's Get Hip, and then
I signed
TR
that one.
Vogue. Yeah,
Literally one
you
of my,
did sign that one. He did.
it's my
But it's
favorite
an-
song in the catalog.
It's an electro swing track, so it's got a big upbeat piece. But in the game Synth Riders, you've got these two balls kind of on spindles that you ride these kind of rails, and there's these parts that have like individual like balls just kind of floating. And there's this one point where he literally like flosses and he hits the ball
From behind.
from behind his back.
Yeah.
Like he does a floss and like hits the ball on the opposite side of him. It's one of the coolest things
That's
that I've ever
awesome.
seen. And so, yeah, they really start to play into the artistry of this type of content medium. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
different.
Synth Riders is great in that way because the targets are omnidirectional. It does not matter in which way you hit them.
Right.
So
Right.
it lends itself to the greater variety. You can do the behind the back. And
Yeah,
switch things
that
around.
makes sense as opposed to Beat Saber.
You can
Where
do
you
trick
have to
shots.
do it. Yeah.
Directionality of where
Yeah.
you're swinging.
Yeah, in Beat Saber you have to get a little bit more creative.
Yeah.
And as a curator, you know, you can pick up on stuff like that, right? Like
Yeah.
like seeing what goes viral and be like, okay, there's the science to that. What in that song, you know, triggered that? One that even with TikTok, when we're seeing one of your songs get chopped apart and put into short medium.
Right.
Okay, what in that song gravitated towards that? You know, what do I need to look out for in the future for a future song that can get chopped up and used in TikTok? You know.
Yeah, and on that point, tossing it back to Baxter again, do you see content in the VR space doing rhythm VR space doing better on any particular platform? YouTube, TikTok, Twitch.
yeah.
Do you see that any particular medium it tends to do better on, or is that not something that you really tracked?
I want to say YouTube is where I see most of the VR content.
Yeah,
You know, the streaming I think will happen mostly on Twitch,
right.
but I think it's just there's more accessibility through YouTube.
Right.
TikTok I haven't seen as much. I am a recent adopter of TikTok, so
Don't start. You will never
Don't-
be able to
Welcome
leave.
to-
He's already started.
I mean I think it's a brilliant idea. I love it.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen it's really interesting. I see a lot of the like Nacy. She does a lot
Yeah.
of. She actually had I don't remember the song, but she did it too. But she actually had a TikTok that went super viral of a
Oh.
very hard song, which then drove a ton of traffic to her YouTube and therefore also to her Twitch. And so, yeah,
Yeah, no, you can if you have a really catchy performance
Yeah.
to a song because the streamer is adding another layer. So
Right.
you've got the music, the mapper sort of enhances it with their beat map, and then
Yeah.
the streamer can enhance that even more. And they might do things that the mapper didn't even envision.
right.
And so,
Oh.
yeah, there's just a progression like that.
It's kind of what happens with the music too, right? Like we think we know what the juiciest part of the song is, and then on TikTok someone cuts like a completely different section, and we're just like, wait, what?
Oh no!
Well, I mean,
no,
that's
no.
that's the idea of a remix, right? The original idea of a remix is, you know, I hear a piece of music complete in its full form, and I get inspired about what my view of that could be,
Right.
and that's where the idea of the remixes come from.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then, Ryan. In terms of the trends that you've seen across these different platforms, has it changed how you make music or how you produce music?
God,
That's a good
That's-
one.
I'll tell you this one. Being a curator has changed how I make music.
Okay.
In a way that the sheer volume of music submitted and the sheer volume of music I know is out there being submitted, it just humbles me to the point as a producer. I'm like, there's so much incredible content out there
Right.
that never sees the light of day, you know? And it really humbles me as a producer, as in like, you know, the fact that any song makes it nowadays, right?
Right.
The fact that any song breaks through the static noise. There's 30,000 tracks uploaded to Spotify a day. I gotta write something good. Like not like no, I gotta write something good. I won't write until I have something good, right? I used to write because I had to. I had to put out a track a month. I had to keep writing it just to stay relevant, and that's not the. If you have a fan base or if you have a Patreon base, or if you have something like that, that's an active fan base feeding you and hey, we want continuous music. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And feed that fan base. But if you're trying to break through and break the ice and just throwing anything against the wall, hoping something sticks, I don't think that's the right path nowadays. I think bringing it back to, if you have a real song in your heart, make that, not just trying to make anything to try to make some noise to try to break through.
Right.
So that's kind of I'm probably gone from making, back when I was just trying to break through not the glass scene, to break through them into the scene, I was making 50, 60, 70 tracks maybe a year.
Wow.
Maybe, with counting bootlegs and remixes. And now I'm making 3 ones I really believe in here.
That's awesome.
Like
And
this.
That's kind of, if I had a shift, that would be that.
I want to hear all of them. Now,
No.
I'm going to take a
Right.
similar question and toss it to you, Heather. 99 Lives obviously started off as hey, content creators on YouTube need tracks. And how has Twitch, and to a lesser extent TikTok, factored into any part of the label? Has it changed anything that you've done or your approach or anything? Or can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, for a while there, in 2014, 2016, there was a huge trend around EDM subgenres like progressive house and future bass. And for a long time, that's what we signed and we stuck to. And one of the things that we've realized in the past couple of years is that we have to feed not only the base that needs music on those platforms, but services like Pretzel are handling a lot of that. So we had a little bit more freedom and flexibility to adopt some of the subgenres of EDM that might have been becoming more popular.
Like electro swing.
Right, or electro swing, or we've done EDM rock crossovers as of recent. And one of the things that I think I gave direction to him and Ryan in 2020, we eventually got to a spot where he was like, there's really good stuff, but it's not stuff that 99 Lives would sign. And it was like, well, what does 99 Lives sign? And he's like, that's a good point. This is maybe we stop signing what 99 Lives would sign and sign what's good content, and it'll find a home. And we've actually found that we've adopted more audiences and new audiences by embracing that tactic. So from a label perspective, it's very different. From a production music catalog, you would probably want to try to fit the needs of your client, but our client are listeners and content creators. So we've kind of bucked the curation change and kind of try to find just new music that's high quality and give new artists a chance. I don't know if you would feel any different about that.
No, I completely agree with that. There's certain ways of a record label having a sound, but sounds don't stand the test of time.
Right, they don't.
They can have resurgences. They can dwindle away and come back. For example, drum and bass is massive in the UK again. It came back. There's different waves of sounds that come back, especially in the EDM world. As an artist, you should always create what you want to create, and it doesn't matter what sounds. But as a label and a curator, if you have a community that you kind of test things out with, and the response, they're your diehard community, and they only want minimal techno, and then you throw a future bass track at them and they rage, okay, maybe that's too wide of a swing. But if you have what 99 Lives was, which was a pretty wide flux of genres in general, we had that room to kind of experiment and kind of see where we can push things. And we kind of found our wall. We went.
We did. We found a wall.
Some of the metal step tracks got a little too mosh pit.
Screamo EDM.
Hey, don't
That actually did really well. I Want to
Screamy
See You
DM.
Dead, that track, I thought would be super memey, and that fell flat with our listening audience.
I
but
still love that one.
I still love that one too. But I think the other side of it too is that we started recognizing that fans that were content creators that listened to our music were also fans of other music.
Yeah, it's a balance of keeping the sound of your label while growing the sound of your label.
Right.
And that's,
he does that.
And that is a hard balance to maintain, but a necessary one, or else your label just becomes
You just sign
Obsolete.
in whatsoever.
You become obsolete.
Yeah.
stale.
Obsolete.
Same
Sure.
thing. We're about to open it up to audience questions, so start
do
thinking about them. But I do have one final question for our panelists. Obviously, we're talking about TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch today. What genres do you think, each one of you, what genre would you say that you think does the best, quote unquote, on each one? And we'll start off with Baxter because he wasn't ready for it.
I'm gonna say pop on TikTok just based on my limited experience.
Sure.
And then on Twitch. I mean, are we talking from a VR streaming perspective?
Whatever perspective you want to.
Okay. Well, we actually did a survey back in early 2020 of the Beat Saber community, and easily EDM was the highest. Like we asked, well, what sort of music do you want to see in rhythm games? And EDM was the top. I think rock might have come next, and then pop.
Yeah.
So that's what I tend to see on YouTube. I don't watch much Twitch, I have to admit.
Get out.
Don't get out. We like you.
We do like you. Please don't go away.
How about you, Ryan?
Polka.
Go away.
No, I agree with. I think hip hop cuts and pop music in general. TikTok, Twitch, lo-fi, chill, and YouTube. I think EDM still is predominant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets used a lot.
What about you, Nate?
Oh man, I'm just thinking through. To be honest, I have a lot of stake in. Like, I actually think TikTok is the most influential discovery platform out there right now, and so I think everything else follows it.
Right.
Absolutely agree.
And so that's the part that's really interesting to me. But I don't know. I don't know what that it factor is that makes something viral on TikTok, and I think a lot about
Because
that.
like TikTok is breaking records and signing acts. Twitch isn't doing that.
Right.
No, not even a close. And YouTube, it's the thing about music and YouTube is the vast majority, like in a VR game, like we said, there's music as part of the forefront of the content that you're making. In Twitch, the music is generally the background as to a mood or a vibe. Kind of like when I'm shopping at Abercrombie and Fitch, there's music playing above my head, and that's to give an ambience and a vibe.
You shop at Abercrombie and Fitch?
I was,
He sure does.
I was thinking of the stores that you go into the mall, and it's like there's
He's
loud
an AF
music
guy.
while
You heard
walk
it here
by.
first.
Hollister. That's where you're.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Forever 21. But
hot topic.
but yeah, so like and so with Twitch there's that, and then with YouTube there's vloggers who are putting music behind their background, but the vast majority of that stuff is still out of the YouTube free library or
Production
no
music
sounds
library.
or any of those things, and that's not something that consumers actually listen to. And so yeah, like TikTok is really where it is, but it's just like I can think of maybe half a dozen TikTok sounds that there are so many
Right.
like videos made of that stuff. It's just
I also think it's which TikTok subculture you live in.
Exactly.
Because like right now on my TikTok, right? You know what's
Yeah.
doing really well? EDM. I wonder why. Because I was searching for shufflers and trying to find shuffler content creators to partner with, and EDM is super incredibly popular with shufflers.
Yeah.
yeah, shuffle talk.
Shuffle talk, right? Exactly. So it really depends on what subculture you're a part of. YouTube, you stole my answer.
You know what I really hope what TikTok doesn't do?
What?
You know how like Spotify does that year-end
Oh no.
review? Like it shows you like what you listen to all
Your
year.
year.
If that doesn't mean TikTok, my
It's
fiance
TikTok's.
is not gonna marry me.
Aren't you on Kitten Talk?
This is
I'm
recorded.
on Kitten Talk, like legit.
For legal purposes, as the lawyer at the table, he didn't mean that if his fiance does see this video.
So, but yeah, YouTube, he stole my answer. Production music catalog is still the most popular because it's for most large partners and large content creators, it's the safest option for them.
Yeah.
If they haven't discovered a Monster Cat and NCS or 99
Well, I mean,
Lives.
those are all catalog music, like
Yeah.
Epidemic,
Epidemic.
Monster Cat, 99 Lives, No Copyright Sounds, Stream Beats,
Yeah.
etc. They're all catalog music.
And then Twitch, I think you cross the line between, I think lo-fi is huge right now. But then you get memery content.
Right.
And I think that comes from discovery because a lot of content creators have found stuff within the Pretzel catalog that has ended up being memes in the channel. And I think that is all about the flavor of the content creator that is using your music. So it's hard to pick a subgenre.
That's true.
Cool. All right. Anybody out there got questions? Going once? No, just go ahead. Raise your hands.
Any thoughts?
Don't-
You were so thorough. There
I was
no
about
questions.
to say. Don't be
Or
shy.
it's 10:30 or 11 and everyone's tired.
It's almost 11:30.
No, it's time at the
PM.
bar. Is our bar still open?
That
I have a question.
We got a
Oh,
hand
we
back
got one.
there.
Okay, I guess my question is like, what you guys touched on a little bit, but I just want to know your thoughts on. I certainly know some TikTok where it's kind of like memification of certain songs.
Sure.
They use the sound and sort of being like.
Oh, yeah.
Is that kind of how is that sort of amounted with artists being discovered as is?
Great. And I'm always going to repeat the questions for the recording. So essentially the question is, and point at me if I'm wrong, how on TikTok there's a lot of memification of songs, so to speak. And how does that play into the discovery of songs, and does it affect, what music is used or put out there?
I talk about this a lot with regards to Twitch, because it's very similar with Twitch. Twitch has I'm glad you brought up that, or one of you brought up the thought that a song becomes a community's a perfect example.
Community-based thing.
Darude Sandstorm on Twitch, right, is a thing where literally there is a global Twitch icon of a sandstorm for, called do 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 do, which is a thing. And so, and when they play it at TwitchCon, it was there. Brain Power by Nova is a huge thing
Yeah.
that went psycho on Twitch. And so you see a lot of those kind of, if you play League of Legends, Silver Scrapes is like
Right.
the quintessential song for the NALCS or the LCS in general. And so, yeah, I think you get these communities. When it comes to Pretzel, when we had song requests, we actually we had 3 different streamers who all had to ban a song because the community
Wouldn't stop playing
would
it.
just chain request the same song over and over and over again.
It's like the John Mulaney sketch.
Until it just got annoying to them. So they kept paying $1 per request, just one right after the other, to just annoy the streamer. And we had 3, and the funny thing is the moment you banned a song, it was no longer available. So we actually had to go that was a bug in the system that we had to go fix. And
So that they can
unban the song and put it back into their state to make it available. Yeah. And so that
was
was
one of those Heroes Tonight.
Heroes Tonight for Taffy's channel.
7 Cs.
7 Cs for Dark Costo,
Yep.
and Kappa for Soren. They were
Wow.
all songs that got banned. But that same sort of thing, right? The different communities on Twitch really like to troll the broadcaster. And so it becomes this thing where you see this emergent behavior that comes through from the community. But the song in each one of those cases were completely different songs.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the part that's unpredictable.
And I think we translate from to the artist side. You have certain instances like when they brought up the sea shanty thing earlier, where Atlantic or Sony goes out and signs that band that was started. So that's
The longest job.
I think that's the exception to the rule. I think normally the meme just if that artist has their stuff hopefully accurately represented, that they get paid on it. And like Heroes Tonight, the artist who made Heroes Tonight isn't going on tour because of that community going nuts with it. It's a meme in that culture. That artist is getting paid a nice paycheck, but it's not going to go into like him selling tickets. He's not going to be playing Coachella. Right. So I think a lot of that, the TikTok meme stuff, is just kind of in that kind of more ballpark. The artist might see a nice paycheck if his stuff's registered correctly, but I don't think it actually is the sea shanty example where the majors are jumping at each small little clip that goes viral.
No, I mean, there's a couple that they are, but one thing that is super interesting about TikTok that is not necessarily true for YouTube or Twitch, it's been difficult for the music industry to tie a direct virality of a song to performance on Spotify or Apple Music, where you actually make the money. typically on YouTube, if you get something that's in the 40 million view range, that's when you start to see it reflect back onto Spotify and then see it in playlists. And that's where we drive playlist creation with average consumers and editorial. And that's where you start to see traction and money come in. TikTok is the first platform we've been able to do a direct correlation. If something goes viral on TikTok, within a week and a half, it'll go viral on Spotify.
Interesting.
It's
That's
the
fascinating.
first platform we've been able to.
Directly correlate.
Yep, correct. On Twitch,
Not even a little.
not even a little bit.
Interesting.
That's one of the reasons why I like the idea of exposure being proper compensation. It depends, right? For Twitch, not really, because it's typically not the focus. And if it is, it's for a very brief moment in an 8-hour stream.
I just realized how many songs I've added to my Apple Music library because of TikTok, and now I feel vaguely ashamed.
Please always add it to Apple Music, not Spotify.
Oh,
Spotify doesn't pay very well.
I use Apple Music daily.
Thank
I
you.
think we had a question.
Yeah,
Red.
gentlemen in the red
Yeah.
too.
So you guys have talked a lot about how important TikTok is in terms of discovery. If you were to reverse engineer the perfect song for TikTok, how would you do that strategically?
So the question is, if you were to reverse engineer the perfect song for TikTok, how would you do that strategically? Or, in other words, how do you catch lightning in a bottle?
That is something that the independent labels, independent artists in the
haven't even
majors,
figured it out.
all of them are trying to figure it out and we can't. And so what the majors do is they snap those creators up and hope that that same creator can create lightning twice. Like, it is not.
I mean, and which is the same thing they do with artists too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For every Justin Bieber, they sign hundreds that you never heard of.
Yep. It's no different. It's so incredibly unpredictable, and that's also part of, as he mentioned, it's part of the fun of it. But there is no recreating it.
Well, it's also like it's also the question of like, how do I become a successful streamer on Twitch? How to become a diamond play button YouTuber?
Be
It's a-
awesome.
well, make good content. Comes back to what you're saying. Make content that you're proud of, that is something that is meaningful to you, the artistry that you're doing, and hopefully and work to find an audience.
But there's strategy involved to the content you're going for, right?
Sure.
So, like, for example, the rhythm games, right? So if you want your track to be a viral track that goes live for the Beat Saber people, right, or something in that rhythm game world, right? He mentioned earlier in the talk, I don't know if you're here for it, that things that start the beat has to drop before 15 seconds in, right? Like just having those knowledge bases and those kind of guide structurally, it's not changing your artistry at all. But like if I know the drop needs to happen in 15 seconds, analyze that. That's the reverse engineering you're kind of talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like that for that kind of thing. If you want your TikTok thing to go viral with, a cosplayer or something like that, you can kind of see that like the kind of songs and kind of artistry. If your artistry falls into kind of what they're already doing, then it's more just about getting in front of their space,
Yeah, I think it's less about trying to even just fully engineer the song, but also just trying to find the audience that matches. Like, we sell EDM, we EDM music is our thing, right? And we sit in the BPM that's really comfortable for shufflers. We've picked out a good number of songs from our catalog that we think might be a good fit, and you just go find that audience.
Yeah.
And you ask content creators of any size to recreate content with that music and then hope that it catches on.
Yeah, the thing is, you can build a song particularly for an audience. And that audience may have already moved on by the time you finish. So
also true.
the key is to make the song and then invite people over to listen to it. Yeah, because if you don't have the underlying song, then they got nothing to listen to in the first place.
I'm not sure if that really answered your
Something
question.
I might
sorry.
suggest is, if musicians want to approach streamers and say, I've got this idea,
Yeah.
how might you bring this to life?
Yeah.
Because that's what the streamers are doing. They're bringing your music to life. They are showing how it can be experienced. So, that sort of collaboration could spark. Who knows?
That's awesome. Yeah.
We did a TikTok campaign, and I will tell you that one of the first things we learned is don't try to engineer what the TikToker is going to do.
Yeah.
Give them the song and let them be inspired by it. And if they find something, let them do what fits them and their audience.
I will say that kind of along the lines of what Baxter was saying over there, one of my clients would actually, she creates content, she creates music on Twitch. And Mike Shinoda came in and produced one of her songs live on her stream. And that song is her best performing song by like a million on any platform of anything. And so that kind of collaborative aspect really does, reap the rewards. It's not reverse engineering the perfect TikTok song, but it's a start. What was that? No, I'm referring to Megan Linnaeus.
Yeah, like Megan Linnaeus.
She's amazing, but your person sounds great too.
Any other questions? Thoughts, feelings, feedback?
We also have favorite colors if you want to ask that as well.
Green. I like green.
I only know like 7 colors. So
Awesome. Well, y'all are wonderful. I want to quickly allow everybody on the panel, starting with Baxter, to say where you can find them on social media and whatnot. Baxter, kick it off.
well, you probably just our webpage, atlasrhythm.com.
You can find my EDM group at The Made Monster on Instagram, and the app we work for is www.pretzel.rocks.
You can follow me on Twitter, not KNAUGHT FTW for the win.
Don't follow me on Twitter. I just retweet legal and boring stuff. So follow 99 Live, not 99 Lives, but 99 Live on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at My Lawyer Friend. Y'all have been incredible. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time, folks.
Thank you.